This is Midsummer in Sweden. Families are celebrating, children are dancing, people are laughing, eating, singing, and enjoying one of the biggest traditions in this country. And while I was filming this, I kept thinking about something. 2 years ago, I came to Sweden with my family. Borrowed money, no job, no proper place of our own, and no idea how difficult the next 2 years would become. I thought I would find work quickly. I thought my experience would matter. I thought starting over would be hard, but manageable. I was wrong. So now, after 2 years in Sweden, after the housing problems, the bank account problems, the job rejections, the food delivery work, the Swedish classes, and everything in between, I have asked myself, honestly, was moving to Sweden a mistake? Coming to Sweden wasn't really easy. The very first hurdle that I had was finding an accommodation. And here in Sweden, when you come here, you have to register yourselves and everyone in your family so that everyone can get a tax number. Here it's called a personnummer, but you can understand it as a social security number. So you have to have an address where you need to be registered. And that's kind of tricky because what I realized once I came here, I couldn't find enough properties which were good enough, like in a safe place, in a safe neighborhood, a good decent property where I could move in. And there's a lot of scam going on where people would say that they have a place and they can have you registered in that place as well. But the thing is, let's say you have a property, let's say you own a property, then you are registered on that property yourself. And if you have a family, then that family is also registered on that property. And there's only so many people that are legally allowed to be registered on that property. So what happens is people who are coming outside of Sweden, and if they rent a property, and once they get into Sweden, they realize that although the property was there, but they couldn't get themselves registered because there were already a lot of people registered there. So it took me about 2-3 months to find a property where I could get myself and my family registered properly so that I could get a tax number. So initially I had to live in a temporary accommodation, and that was a very expensive accommodation, and that took away the bulk of my savings. The second challenge was finding a job, and I was under the impression that I would find a job fairly quickly. And here's the funny part. I was legally allowed to work in Sweden from the very first day, even when I didn't have my tax number, because all of those things can be taken care of later on. For example, if an employer took me, then he could wait to do my taxes later on once I get the tax number. So legally I was allowed, but the companies here, they for some reason don't even look at you if you don't have a tax number. So even if I wanted to apply for food delivery jobs, and you can only apply online through their online portal or whatnot, you have to upload the documents that they need, and I didn't have those documents. And I'm reminding you again, I was legally allowed to work from the very first day. So that was one problem. Then the third problem was having a bank account. Now,
you cannot have a bank account if you don't have a job, or if the government is not paying you any money. So basically money is not coming into your account, the bank is not going to give you a bank account. And your employer is not going to give you a job if you don't have a bank account, because where are they going to run the salary into? So that was another problem when I was applying for food delivery jobs. They asked for my tax number, which I didn't have. They asked for my bank account, which I didn't have. So I went to the bank, and they said, we can't give you a bank account. Please come back once you have a job, or once you have any money coming in from benefits or whatnot. So I was lucky enough to get the tax number fairly quickly. If I remember it, I think I got it within a month. So once I had the tax number, then the children's monthly benefit that the government gives you, that started coming in, and because of that, I got a bank account. And once you get a bank account, you get a BankID, which is a big thing in Sweden because everything here works in BankID. And then I had to get my driver's license converted into the Swedish driver's license, which was fairly easy to do, but it took 2 months. So you have to give your driver's license by post. You have to send it to them, to the driver's license thingy, whoever the association of the government is. I can't remember the name. And then they take their time, they verify things, and then they send you the Swedish equivalent of that driver's license. Now, I've got all the driver's licenses for all the motorcycles, and I've got the driver's license to drive a car. So that was a good thing. So, and as I had explained earlier, I was applying for a lot of jobs, but I wasn't even getting an interview call. So 5-6 months down the road, when our savings were completely finished, and I was just really stressed about finances, I got the job in Wolves as food delivery. So food delivery literally saved me. Yeah, doing food delivery literally saved me. So I started doing food delivery on Wolves. Now, that again wasn't easy because I had never done food delivery before. I thought if I buy an electric bike, it would be an easy way out to earn money. So I get an electric bike, and lo and behold, it doesn't go beyond 3 hours, and then I have to charge it again, and charging it takes another 5 hours. So obviously, if I was only working for 3 hours, I won't be able to pay my bills. So that was a mistake. Then I decided to buy a moped, which was a Swedish moped. And that moped died. Well, it didn't die. It had a manufacturing fault. So from the very first day, it had a fault. So I had to send it back. And then for 2 months, I was just waiting on that moped. So while I was waiting, again, I couldn't sit on my ass, excuse my French. I had to buy another moped. So I bought one more moped, and finally I was working 9-10 hours a day. That's when I started learning the roads. I started learning how the city works, and the city opens up to you. You get a lot of knowledge about how the city works. Now, obviously, that takes time. You don't just understand and learn within 2 days. It takes time. But as long as you're moving, things are working out. And then I think 3-4 months down the road, and my new moped, the brand new moped that I bought the second time, that also died on me. Because apparently these mopeds are not built for food delivery. You can't just keep on running them from morning till night, trying to make a living and think that this machine is going to keep on going on, because they are not built for that purpose. A moped is basically built for taking a person from point A to point B, and vice versa. So then, I think 7, 8 months, 9 months down the road, I ended up buying a motorcycle, which I'm riding right now. So this has been my partner ever since. Now, I was lucky enough to be able to buy a motorcycle because I had the driver's license for it. But majority of food delivery riders in Malmo, in Lund, are not on a motorcycle. They are either on a car or a moped or on an electric bike. I think in Malmo, there's probably just one more person that I know of who does food delivery on a motorcycle. Everyone else does it on a moped. So food delivery saved me. And another thing is, when you come to Sweden, there is an expectation that you're going to learn Swedish, which I completely understand, which is fine. But here's the problem. If you're learning Swedish, which itself is a full-time job, then how are you going to earn? You can't be spending your entire day learning Swedish and then not earn, because then where's the money going to come from? So this is like you being stuck in a rock and a hard place. And that's where I was. So I was learning Swedish part-time. So I was spending like 1-2 hours a day learning Swedish. It took me about 6-7 months. So in 6-7 months, I learned the basics. And then I realized that I needed to take a break from Swedish, because it was now winters and things were getting extremely hard. If you go back into my videos, you'll see how torturous it became to do deliveries in the cold winter when it was snowing and everything. So I had to earn, and so I decided to take a break until summers. So then I started going back to Swedish classes, and this time around, I went into a full-time Swedish school. So now, as we speak, I go to Swedish school and I learn Swedish from 8:30 in the morning till 12. And the idea is to learn Swedish as quickly as possible, because here's the thing. I completely appreciate that when you are in Sweden or when you are in a country that speaks another language, you need to learn that language. You need to understand what people are saying. Knowledge is power, and it opens up opportunities for you. I completely appreciate that. And I wish that I would have spent more time learning Swedish when I came here 2 years ago. I have to confess, I didn't understand how important it was, because again, if you have seen my videos, everyone here speaks English. Okay, you can get your way around just by speaking English. What you cannot do is find a job if you only speak English. At least that's my experience. So now my goal is to learn Swedish and be fluent in it as soon as possible. And it's not easy for a person at my age, because number one, I don't like learning languages. I don't like studying the way normal people study. I can study things I'm a very quick learner, don't get me wrong, but I have to be interested in it. I just happen to be interested in things which are not language related. This is why I got into IT. I'm very interested in IT. I'm very interested in history. I'm very interested in content creation and things like that. But when I'm learning a language, I just go into cognitive shutdown. I start yawning, and it's very difficult for me to concentrate and learn a language. So it's going to take me a little time. But that's the thing, if you're thinking about coming to Sweden, then take it from me. The number one thing that you should do is immediately start learning Swedish. And it's for free. You don't have to pay a dime. You have to go to SFE, get yourself enrolled. It's going to take about 3 months before they enroll you. And once you're on board, you start learning Swedish. Once you learn Swedish, then job opportunities would hopefully open up for you. Now, I do not know, I cannot promise, and I cannot guarantee that you will find a job after you've learned Swedish, because I don't know. I guess I will personally cross that bridge when I get there. So that's the thing. And as I keep saying, I wasn't able to find the job in my field. And so I decided, if no one's going to give me a job, I'm going to give myself a job. And that's where YouTube comes in. So I decided to start my YouTube channel. And it's kind of my job. It's also kind of my business. More like my business. It's my investment. Investment in time, investment in terms of equipment. And I'm hoping, I don't know if I will succeed or not, but I'm hoping that with time and with consistency, content creation is going to give me a way out. So my point is that when you're stuck in a place where you can't see a way around anything, you have to depend on yourself. You will get an opportunity, like I got an opportunity to do food delivery, and I didn't care what opportunity I got as long as I started earning, as long as I got out of the door. If I had to work 10, 12 hours, 15 hours a day, so be it. You have to do it in the beginning until you get to the point where things start becoming a little easier for you. Someone very wise told me very back in the days when I was in my college, they said, doesn't matter where you go in this world, it takes you 5 years to establish yourself, to become settled. And that is so true. So I've already spent 2 years in Sweden and 3 more years to go before I can say, yes, I have settled in Sweden. It wasn't easy. It still isn't easy, but it's easier than before. And whoever wants to learn from my story, please learn from my story.